Hey friends, it's Abigail of VC. Welcome back to Judgment Free Zone. We need vulnerability and empathy now more than ever. I hope you are able to find room for more curiosity, self-compassion, and empathy for yourself and others while you're here. I show up so you can too. Welcome back to Judgment Free Zone, fam. Thankful to have you all here again another week. It's so exciting, and I'm just so thrilled because I have Aaron on today, and you guys don't know him, but I've known Aaron for a really long time, but we don't really know each other, but we've been in each other's lives, and I'm just so thankful to have you here. Aaron was my high school communications teacher. It's probably another world for you back then.
Crazy.
I know, but Aaron is a hubby to Sara. And I've also got to meet her a few times, and she's fantastic. He has a podcast and YouTube channel host to Our Healing Voices, Young Living brand partner, Living Well Now leadership team, wellness retreat host, which I want to hear so much more about. Reiki, is it Reiki Master, right? Is that how you say Reiki?
Reiki. Yeah, Reiki.
All right. Yep. I'm guessing people say that, right?
All good.
Massage therapist, deep listener, and again, was my high school communications teacher. So good to see you. How are you?
Oh, so good to see you. I'm doing well. It's a new day, and I'm excited to be getting to hang out with you.
I know. It's great. Yeah. It's one of my favorites because you're out in California and I'm here in Arizona. You get the beautiful weather. Is it hot there yet?
You know what? It got 78 yesterday. So
wow.
Right. No,
really
it's been amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just so excited for people to get to learn more about you. I've always been so interested in you. You just are a magnet, I feel like. And I know that I cannot be the only person who feels this way. You are just so present with people, and your energy is just so accepting and giving, I feel, of time. You just listen. And when you even said, you mentioned, you're a deep listener, you are. I feel like you value deep conversations, and that's obviously something I really connect with. And so I'm just so excited for people to get to know you and for you to share.
Oh, thank you.
Things of you.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I definitely am on the learning journey, right? Just on the learning journey. And I'm just in awe. I continue to just be in awe of the resilience of the humans around me.
Right.
To be real honest, right?
I know.
The last 2 years, I feel like I'm getting a real big dose with my mom's health scenario, but of just what reality is, the human journey of I think the therapy, my wife and I, we've been in therapy the last couple of years, and it's been so helpful because we've, I think in the personal development world, an entrepreneurial personal development world, you can get into this gratitude, confidence, positive all the time, and therapy has been such a good, hey, you're also a human that has emotions that are not so amazing and don't feel so good, and really actually, be in touch with those. Don't pretend those don't exist, so it's been so helpful, I think, because I think in that personal development world, you can kind of get into this little oh, hey, we're, traveling here or doing this, and you are trying to just put on this Instagram look or whatever. Right. And it's actually, I woke up at 3 a.m. last night and cried in bed a little bit, and then had a dream. It's that's actually reality.
Right. Well, and I don't know if you can relate, but I think that to me, looking at you, you've always been a leader too. And I think that, in those leadership roles, we have a tendency to feel like we have to have it all together and have that toxic positivity almost constantly it's okay, it's all together, totally. We can do this. And, even though we go through things, and I feel like you share things that are hard that you go through, but almost just that mindset we get back into, did I share too much? Still questioning if I'm that constant piece of, was that enough? Did I do too much? Am I being too positive? Am I really showing who I am?
Yeah. I mean, even as I was just beginning, I was like, what's how much to share, right?
Yeah.
And having that conversation with myself on like, again, the whole oversharing journey. Being raised by two counselors, I could drop in with a random stranger at the coffee shop and be like, yeah, here's my whole life story, tell me yours.
Mm.
And like,
Yeah.
and leave nothing. I could leave nothing out, like because I'm like, this is how I am who I am, and why I am who I am, and so it's like but then the last 2 years the therapist has been like, hey, you don't have to share everything. You're allowed to have sacred space. Like,
absolutely. I think something that I really learned a lot, like as I've been going to therapy, and I can relate to what you're saying a ton, is that not everybody deserves to hear my story.
Yes.
That some people can use what you say against you, and it's unfortunate. And again, I think, I don't know if you can relate, but I feel what you're saying I can relate to a ton. It's just when we are, or I am, such a huge feeler and can connect on such a deep level with people, I'm like, well, why can't you too?
Yeah.
And not everybody's like that.
Totally.
And I'm like, but why not?
Yeah.
Like, I just love you so much already, and I just met you. I'm like dug from up, like.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and and when you, I totally relate with you, just on comfortability, right? Where it's like, it's almost home for me when I'm having like a safe conversation with somebody, where it's like, that's heaven to me. Like, because I literally was in my mom's arms, and her best friend, they would sit on a couch together, cry, talking about what's going on in each of their lives, feel their feelings, hold good space for each other. I literally was a newborn getting passed between their arms, while they're crying and pouring tears on my head, on my face, like down on them. And so I'm like, shocker that deep, vulnerable, raw conversations are heaven to me. As far as programming goes, it was like that safety, like feeling that safe, having a safe space. Whoa, I want us all to have that. I want us all to feel that, So,
oh, I know.
But
Same.
Again, I have to like check in and be like, okay, all right, Aaron. Yep, you don't need that. You don't need to dive in there right now.
Yeah. I feel it's so feel you. I actually went on a podcast like for the first time as me as a guest, and they they ask you to, ask you to share more about you, right? Like that's what you do. And when she got there, I was like, that was actually the most uncomfortable for me, because it used to be so fluent for me. Same thing, like sit down, tell my life story. Here's everything about me, right? I have gone to therapy and worked so hard to create just what you said, that sacred space for me now, that it was now foreign to open up and share about me. Like only certain people know those hardships that I've gone through in the last, 7 years. And so when I went to go try to be vulnerable and talk about it, afterward, when I was talking to her, I was like, I don't know if I shared too much. Like that was really weird for me. Like I didn't know what to share or not to share. So I feel you. That was really difficult. And so I asked her personally, I was like, I think maybe if you could edit a couple things out. So, but I think remembering that too. Yeah, the dialogue, and remembering that if you mess up, that's okay. And giving yourself that self-compassion, and also to stand up for yourself. If something needs to be taken out, like to ask for it when it's going to be public.
True. Totally. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it is, I think it's, I'm thankful that like team vulnerability, right? Because for me, I had a secret as a kid, right? I had a secret as a kid, hung out with a neighbor kid, sexually when I was like 4 or 5, right? Had this little, so then it was like, my parents were amazingly like, listen to me, but it was a family secret. It was like this insular, the 5 of us knew, nobody else knew, right? And they did the best they knew how, but it became this secret that I, had participated in these activities at this young age, or, as my therapist helped me realize, I was molested, at 4 or 5, and so I went into this like secret zone, and I guess got to college And at 19 years old, I'm at like some gathering and where people are sharing their stories. I share my story and I feel this like weight just go off my shoulders. And I'm like, oh, that feels good. I was like, I don't have to carry that just with, that doesn't have to be a secret. Like, I don't have to keep that a secret anymore. Like, wow, that feels so good, which then turned me into freakishly vulnerable. Like, not only was it my parents being counselors, but it was also that, 13, 14, 15 years of secret vibes, where then it was like, no, I'm sick of having secrets. We're all sick of having secrets. Can I just create as safe a space as possible for people, for myself? I just want to talk. I just want to share. I want other people to feel safe to share. But then I also know that I walked into those zones of like oversharing and like encouraging oversharing, where when people weren't actually ready to, emotionally ready to like go there, so it's like having grace for those, those next 7 years, 8 years. I mean, even in the classroom, I felt I have some like, I sometimes look back and I'm like, ooh, that was a little raw. That was a little, maybe too raw. I might have opened up a little too much for 16, 17 18-year olds, like where it was like, oh, I didn't do I really have the skill set to show up and provide actual support after somebody has an emotional release in class? I didn't have that. And anyway, can't go back and change it.
Well,
we all learn together, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh.
Well, I want to encourage you that at the end of the day, even with this podcast, somebody might be offended by something I say, right? Like, we can't please everyone. And I want to tell you that you've always encouraged me, and that space that you created for me really did do a ton for me, Aaron. Like, it gets me emotional, like truly, like I know maybe you didn't know everything that you were doing, and maybe you did mess up, like we do that as humans. But I want you to know that you did create a sacred space for people. And that has carried on. And I'm 31 now. Like, that space that you created for me when I was a teenager, truly, just that pocket has brought up memories that I knew I was safe in your room. And so, again, I know maybe you made mistakes and maybe overshared sometimes and all the things, but for me, you gave me that, and I didn't have that growing up. And I am super thankful for that space.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that. And if any former students listen to this and are like, yeah, I overshared, or if they felt like they overshared, and I'm sorry. I definitely acknowledge that. If I knew now, right? If I knew I knew back then what I know now, right? If I knew back then what I know now, I would have had way more. I would have gone about it quite differently. There would have been a lot of similar things, but like I also would have had way more boundaries set up and like systems in place where it was like, oh, I need additional support on this thing that I just shared. Like,
how old were you though? Like, when
I 26. I think I've started teaching there at 25, 26, 27.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you could relate to this either, but I felt like there was a major mind shift for me around 27. Like 27, 28, I felt like I saw things differently. And so, I mean, just think about the stages of life you were going through too. I mean, we start these careers at such a young age, like, like go on the path, go to college, go to school, and do these things. Like, there is so much room for grace for you. So much room.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, totally. It's definitely again, the learning journey.
Right.
It's literally like, continuing to have grace, looking back and being like, okay, that was what it was, and I know I would do it differently, and yet also, like you shared, I also know that not a lot of, even today, I mean, not a lot of people actually get solid listening anywhere. And so my goal was just like, could we all become better listeners in this classroom together? It's like, and also like, I felt like that time, that 4 years at Kellis was like just a huge dose of humility, right? Where it was like, I came out of college thinking I knew what people needed to do with their lives, how people should live, like what people should believe, like just extremely like a little like overbearing, like overbearing, and it was like, I think that 4 years was, I still remember one student said, I'm sharing about India, my time in India, and then I'm sharing about how India, like we need to like issues around the world, we need to care about these things. Like I was trying to we need to care about these things. Like, and the student was like, Lahman, move to India. Like, if you're so passionate about India, move to India. Stop. Like, she just was telling me, we have so much going on in our teen brains. like we already are dealing with so much, and you're telling us to care about India. It was like, and I was like, oh crap. Okay, yeah. So just all these little like nuggets of like, and then hearing other student stories, and just being like, oh my goodness, my perspective is important, and also like it's limited. Like
Yeah.
it's limited. I don't know what it's like to be anybody but this guy. Like
I actually, interesting enough, was having a conversation with Daniel, my husband, last night about, we were talking about different things, and we were talking about my friend Jemima's super into like recycling and the planet too, and I just think that I know a ton about sex addiction and betrayal, right? Like the things that we go through in life, we all have these like pockets of knowledge, and we get to share, and we can be super passionate about it. And I think that that's great though. Like you were really passionate about India, and teenage brains are everywhere, obviously. But it's a gift to have all of us have different things that are so passionate about, because that's how we give it. Like my brain, with what I'm going through, I sometimes can't fully take care of myself the way I want to in like recycling, or but the things that my friend teaches me about it, I get that knowledge and I can change little things over time, right? Because she's passionate about it, and because she shares with me, but not in a you have to do it kind of way, or like you're a horrible person because you do it, right? Like in a loving, like, hey, I'm passionate about this, so I'm going to share with you. And then giving me room to hopefully, like do it. But I think it's that whole opinion thing. You know what I mean? Like, this is my opinion. This is your opinion. This is what you're passionate about, and leaving room for us to make that shift for ourselves or not, and still loving them in it. Like if they don't.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's totally true. And such a good awareness, because it's not everybody's going to be as passionate about the things you are, right? So it's like, but so each of us owning those, I definitely agree with you. I like that's so important to own those passions and those things we've studied or dove into, and it's okay to like get pumped up about recycling or India or sex trafficking or like whatever it is. Don't hold back that passion, right? And also be aware of your audience. Like be aware of your audience too, right? Where it's like, okay, you don't have to be as passionate, like the podcast is like body, mind, spirit, wellness, healing. I'm just like, if we all gave a crap about it and just said, you know what, my family did it this way, I'm going to get 20% better. I'm going to make sure my family does it 20% better. If we, like even that little, like I think we just all need to care about body, mind, spirit, wellness, healing, and it's like, and then at the same time, I'm like, okay, there's room for Greenpeace, and there's room for all these organizations working around the world and around the, in my community for homelessness, and it's like, body, mind, spirit, wellness, healing is huge, and also, so are all these other gifts that people are sharing, these other passions people are sharing, right?
Well, I think
I'm with you.
I think it's almost like, that saying of, if we could all just be happy, right? Well, if we didn't feel pain, we wouldn't be able to feel that full joy. And so I think it's the same thing. Well, if we all were passionate about the same things, then we wouldn't be able to have a dialogue and conversation about the things that you're passionate about and I'm passionate about.
Totally.
You know, you and I,
Totally.
like, I can relate to you on so many levels, but my upbringing was completely different.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I overshared, not because my family shared, you know, I shared because I'm just honestly honest at fault sometimes. Like
Yeah.
I just,
Uh-huh.
and that's how that got used against me, you know? So
Hmm.
it's this beauty of being able to just live life, I guess, which can also be very difficult, right?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah. Oh, so
Oh,
good.
it's so good. It's so good to see you and get to chat.
I know.
So
Okay, so
good.
well, with that, like, what are you learning right now? Tell us about what
Yeah.
you're learning about. I know we wanted to talk about what's going on with your mom. Share with me.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, just learning a lot right now. My mom a year ago, like well, this coming July, got diagnosed with unhealthy. We're calling them unhealthy cell tumors.
Mhm.
Just shifting, just choosing that language. That's what she
Yeah.
call it. All calling them. So unhealthy cell tumor on her lung, and it actually had metastasized down to her pelvic area,
Mhm.
and we've just found out that it also was in the knee. Wishing, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Wishing she would have done radiation on both pelvic and knee last summer. She only did the pelvis. But since then, after the radiation, they did like 10 days of radiation, and my family were all just like incredibly focused on natural wellness. It's like
You are.
our
It's your
game,
jam.
right? Our world, yeah. And so just navigating, getting a diagnosis and getting really strong opinions from the doctors on what she should do. And she said yes to the radiation piece, but then did not say yes to the chemo or the medicine, or, and has chosen to do a lot of alternative therapies over the last 10 months, 11 months, which has been positive. I mean, quality of life wise, it's been, she's been doing well. She's been juicing a lot. She's been sleeping better. And I'm trying to think what else. Like, I'm giving her doing energy massage treatments on her a couple times a week. We're doing circuit workouts. My mom has always been such an encourager of like all of our athletic interests. And she was an athlete. Like, she was like studying PE in like college, like to be a PE teacher. She's definitely an athlete, but she never really like was in her body as much, right? And so I've really she calls me her coach. My mom and dad actually moved over here to California to live with my wife and I. So the four of us have been cohabitating for 10, well, they've been gone here the last month. So about 9 out of the last 10 months. And that was actually my wife's idea, which was, one of the reasons I married her was that she loves family as much as I did. We both have this like deep love for our families. And so she's the like, after my mom got diagnosed, Sarah was like, Deb, we will come to Arizona and I'll cook for you. Aaron will give you treatments, or if you're coming out to California, we'll live with you guys. Like, we'll just live with you guys and be on site care team, And it's like, anyway, it's been a trip. It's been a trip. Like, living with my parents again, right, at 40 years old has been interesting. Seeing the idiosyncrasies, seeing their back and forth. Obviously supporting my mom in one of the most vulnerable. I mean, this woman is I was going to say an appropriate word, but a strong woman. She's a badass. She is. It's been incredible what she's created, what she's co-created with others, with God, with the universe. Like, just really incredible. She's was a guidance school counselor for many years. She taught parenting classes for many years. She then transitioned into this Young Living leader, and started sharing Young Living and essential oils with people, and like has done that the last 12 years, and has created just a really cool community, and like just a freaking badass. and been an incredible mom, like been an incredible mom to us, you know. And so I've not seen her in this like this vulnerable of like a, oh my gosh, what? Me? Like me? Like, I mean, me? How is, no, wait, this was not supposed to happen, you know, for the woman who's been talking about promoting her longevity and like this, you know, like making wellness choices that most people don't make, right? And this hits, and it's like a, takes your legs out. It's taken my legs out in a lot of ways. I mean, it's made me just like, what actually matters. It's been the big conversation for me the last 10 months, is like, what actually matters in this life? What have we created? You know, like I've been I mean, obviously the pandemic already had me in this energy of like, what did we do here? This is like, this world we created. Like, I'm afraid it's working for a few people, but I'm not sure it's really working for most, you know? And so like, then mom going through this has been more like, just continue to add to this, like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we actually doing here? Like, I mean, this is what I think we should be doing here. You know, like, this is the, like, I'm like, this is the $1 million work, y'all. Like, this is the million, like, this is important. Like, diving in and doing mirror work and going to therapy and like shaking out, you know, old ancestral crap from our bodies and our systems. You know, like, I'm like, we are carrying weight that we do not need to carry anymore. And the systems need repaired. And so anyway, I'm just like, I think the mom thing has been, especially that first 6 months, my entrepreneurial energy was just like probably at like a 5, you know, like my I just wasn't as pumped to like, I'm 40, let me go hustle, right? Just this whole hustle and grind entrepreneurial culture, and also just like America, like keeping up with the Joneses, right? I mean, you gotta have the next car. I gotta get a Tesla soon, you know, I gotta have, right? I gotta get all these different things to be like enough. So I think that I've just been kind of really sorting through like, okay, what actually matters? Like, I want to freaking do what I love, you know, I want to do interviews. I want to talk about plants. I want to host retreats.
Yeah.
I want to help people travel the world. I want to like, you know, be generous and you know, and give to organizations that I care about and people that I care about, and, you know, visions that I believe in. Like it's been an interesting journey supporting mom. I'll tell you, I went to therapy in January, and that 6 months I was just in like coach mode, like, just like, all right, mom, you're infinite energy. You got this. Like, you're safe on the earth. Like, I know you had some trauma as a kid that makes you think that you need to be afraid, or that something's coming around every corner. But you don't have, like, that's your ancestors' stuff. Like, you can give that back to them. Like, you can give that fear back. You do not need to carry that in your hips anymore. You don't need to carry, you know, like, you don't need to carry the ego and arrogance in your, you know, the righteous indignation in your knees. Like, we can both let this go together, right? We can let this junk go together. Ancestors, they are actually cheering us on. Like, they are like so excited, and they have no judgment for us at all. They're like in awareness. They're in love awareness, in my how I understand it. I believe, you know, my ancestors are in love awareness. They're in soul awareness now. They are not in egoic judgment land any longer. So there is no judgment coming from them. They are just like, yes, give it back to us. Like, we're sorry we raised you in a fearful house. We're sorry we did that. You know, like they really want the best for us. And so I was in like coach mode, you know, just nonstop. That was a little glimpse of what I was working, you know. And then I get to therapy, and I tell my therapist about kind of how it's going. She's like, whoa, she's like, you sound extremely busy. Like, how are you doing all of that all at once? Like, you're living with your parents, coaching your mom, giving treatments, trying to grow a business and a podcast and be a good husband. And she was just like, are you tired? And then I literally cried for the next 25, 30 minutes. because because she took me into my freaking inner child. My little kid inside is like scared out of his mind, right?
Yeah.
Scared out of his mind and like sad. And like last night when I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about my mom, you know, Sarah was like cuddling, you know, just holding me back to sleep. And I was like, I had a flashback to, you know, being an 8-year-old. And like I would crawl into, I was the youngest kid, you know, and if I had woken up in the middle of the night, I would go into their room. Mom would scoot over and let me lie on the edge of the bed and just let me lie. And I was like, I had this flashback, and, you know, it's like, that's tough. That's tough. Like, you know, even though I want to be this like infinite energy, spiritually aware, like it's all good. It's all good. Like my mom's going to be with me forever, whether in physical form or in spirit form. Like she's going to be with me forever. Like I totally believe that. And also I have a little kid that freaking loves, I'm a little kid who loves his mom and like is scared that I might lose her soon, you know, and that freaking sucks. That sucks, you know, and I think I kind of have danced in the land of invincibility, you know, I've danced in the land of invincibility, and this is an awakening, a time of awakening for me into like, whoa, we are like, this is such a gift to be here. Like such a gift. Like we totally forget like what a miracle it is to wake up, to freaking be able to breathe. Like it is an incredible gift. The trees are like, they're doing work. The sands in Africa, like everything, all of this earth, like we're not here. Like this is a gift. This is such a gift. So watching my mom like go through this, and I don't know, I mean, she's not supposed to live for very long, you know? Oh, so I just, yeah, it's a raw time of like introspection and like what actually matters. How do I actually want to show up in this world? You know, I don't want to work my tail off the next 28 years to get unhealthy cell tumors and perish. Like, because I worked hard and I did the American dream, you know. It's like, dear Lord, could I just stop that, get off that train?
Right.
So anyway, all right, I just freestyled there for quite a bit, but
no, I thank you so much
listening.
for sharing.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm so sorry that you're going through this.
Yeah.
You know, I think, you know, we wish we had the answers and understanding, and you know, my heart feels for you, and I'm so sorry you're going through this.
It's real. I mean, it's an empathy rise, right? It's growing my empathy. I know, you know, like mom's empathy is growing right now. Like she is like going to therapy right now and like crying, like, I mean, in a safe space and releasing a lot of stuff, you know. It's like that she's been carrying for 60 plus years. Like it's so intense. Like, and she's like freaking counselor, you know. It's like, I thought she was already doing a good, you know, she was processing way more than most, you know. So it's like, I just feel grateful for her model, because it's like, you know, I told my siblings early on, I was like, you know, she is healing. Whether that means she lives 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or 2 years, like she's healing, like she's doing generational healing. So I can live a lighter life. So you, Abigail, can live a lighter life. Like, so my future kids can live a lighter life, a more peaceful existence, you know, less fear-based, more love-centered, you know, less anxiety, like less perfection seeking, more humility and grace and play. My mom is dancing. Like yesterday, I did a workout with her through Zoom because she's in Phoenix, and like she's like doing a warm-up dance, and just watching her dance, I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I just want to watch her dance forever, you know. Like I want to keep getting to watch her dance for another 20 years, you know. Like I don't want it to be a 2-year. So yeah, I'm learning a lot right now. That's real and raw.
Thank you for sharing that.
And it's funny, Sarah Sarah actually has therapy right now. She's like, are you, because we actually go to the same therapist, and she's like, are you sure you don't need a therapy session? I was like, well, I'm talking to Abigail. I'm sure I'm going to have like a little therapy session.
Here we are.
I think I'll do some releasing.
Right.
So thanks listeners as well. Thanks for listening in and holding space for this the raw feelings.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that I always think is beautiful too, is even though, because I've been in so much group therapy, that even when I'm not the one processing, I'm processing. We're learning so much just listening to one another.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah. True.
So thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable.
That's the deep dive on mom. So she's starting radiation, another round of radiation on knee and pelvis today, tomorrow, and then 3 days next week. And yeah, so we're gonna, hopefully that'll like clear things up, and then they'll come back here and continue on I'm so proud of her. I think that's a big piece. I'm so proud of her. Like, because think about some of the patterns. I think this has been a huge, interesting takeaway. It's like at 40 years old, right? The habits that I've gotten used to, right? The little like, just this is who Erin is. This is how Erin shows up. Mom is 68. It's like that patterning and programming and those habits are locked in even deeper, right? It's just so much deeper. And so for her to like be willing to go to therapy, for her to be willing to go to acupuncture, for her to be willing to like try some unique craniosacral therapies, or like try just exploring these other things, I just think is a good reminder. It's a good reminder. And like drinking juices and she's eating mostly vegan, dairy free, just to like get rid of potentially inflammatory foods and beverages. So it's like, that's not easy. But yet, making any transformation, whether it's low back issues or, cancer or autoimmune conditions, it's like making any transformation is definitely a courageous path.
Yeah. Didn't you, I feel like it was you that I saw that you posted something about like at age, wasn't it like 34? You said 34, 35. We all are like, was that you that posted that on Instagram a while ago?
I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like you did. And it really stuck with me that, I really think it was you that you said like 34, 35 were like set in our, like, we're like almost like a robot, like computer, like we just do the same thing day in and day out. I could be wrong. It might not have been you, but I read that somewhere.
I definitely post stuff like that often. I'm not sure what exactly. Yeah, just because it's like we really are. I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza or Dr. Bruce Lipton. They both work on like just this rewiring, right? Like the potential that we have, like to be able to rewire and reprogram mental, just energetic synapses, like mental synapses. So
right.
And they're basically saying we're living on autopilot 80% of our hours. Like when we're in our, like literally when we're in our 20s, 30s, and beyond, it's like we're on autopilot, like the teeth brushing, like versus being present, right? I've done it, right? I'm driving on the freeway and then I'm like, next thing I know, I'm at the exit and I'm like, oh snap, yep, here we are. I'm at the place, I'm already there, because I literally was just on autopilot, like cruising down the road.
Right. No, absolutely.
Anyway, it's wild.
And I also want to bring back up, I loved when you were talking about how you can let go, when you were talking about your mom holding on to certain aspects in her body.
Yeah.
And I can totally relate to that. I've been learning, I just started doing like breath work therapy, like breath work and body work therapy, which again also goes back to when you were talking about I feel like when you were saying like there's the high school, when you were like learning a ton and then you learn something else. That's how I feel all the time. I'm like, I've been going to therapy for 7 years. I'm like, oh, I got this. And then I go to a therapy retreat and they start talking to me about breath work and body work. And I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What do I have? You know what I mean? It just like opened up a whole nother door.
Totally.
I'm like, I thought I had it. I had this.
Yeah.
Now I don't.
Yeah.
And opening up this whole world of like, I did not know how much I held my spiritual abuse in my lower back. It was, and having a release. I was at this retreat and I had this release
Wow.
in my lower back, and I have lower back pain all the time.
Yeah.
And I didn't have lower back pain for 2 days after I had this spiritual release. And it was
Wow.
crazy. And
Wow.
so like that really encouraged me obviously to continue to, I'm like, okay, I got to get this gone. Like, how do I,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
don't want to feel this anymore. Cause of course it
Yeah.
slowly starts to come back, right? If we're,
Yep.
just continuing to work on it. But it is insane how much your body really does hold on to trauma,
Totally.
and that
Totally.
generational, like that's what I feel like when the Bible does talk about generational curses. To me, I'm like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
these things
Yeah.
that we hold on for generations, that literally
Mm-hmm.
get passed down. I mean, it's been proven that trauma literally runs through our blood, passed down,
Yep.
and it's wild.
Yes. Totally. Totally. Yeah. I'm slowly listening to that. It Didn't Start With You book. I think it's Dr. Mark Wolin. It Didn't Start With You. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's literally like we could like, okay, I have anxiety pop up here and there, right? It's like that anxiety could be me and my habits, like what I'm choosing, right? It's part of that. I'm definitely not throwing it all on on the ancestors, but
Right.
but so it's my habits, and also that's in the the DNA, like it literally got passed on, like it literally was passed on. And so and I mean, he tells some stories where you're just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, oh
Yeah. Well,
how important to look at that, because and the more as you find out, and obviously depending upon family systems and what your family
right.
stories are, it may not be super exciting or intriguing for you to like dive in and look at those things, right? And also the potential for releases is really incredible, because I mean, I hear you on the low back stuff. I mean, I think back to, I literally was wearing a back brace at 17 years old. Shocker. I was holding a secret from 4 or 5 with my immediate family. I didn't want anybody else to know around me in junior high school. Shocker that I would have back pain.
Right.
That's so interesting. Like, I'm like, that was literally like trauma, and like just that sexual trauma that then turned into, you hold it, you hold it. I don't know. I mean, I'm fascinated for sure. I don't understand it all. I haven't studied it full on, but I definitely like intuitively know, like my low back also. I'll tell you one other time that flares up is when I'm stressing about finances. Like I remember Sara and I were in Greece, and I don't even know. I was like looking at our checking account, or like our Chase account. I was like, stop breathing, maybe, literally like, and then, right. And you like, we were like, oh, and then my low back for the next week was just crap.
Yeah.
Crap. And it was like, it could not have been even more like specific. It was like, I literally was looking at the Chase account, literally feeling overwhelmed and scared. And then my back just went to craziness. So right. I hear you on the body holds stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think 2 things too is, one, like you don't even have to know your past to work on your body. Like your body, again, like you know what I mean? Yeah. If you don't, you can still work on that. And that stuff is going to release whether you know what it is or not.
Yes.
And then
I love that.
The other thing I was going to say, I can't remember, so it wasn't that important. So it's cool.
No, but I mean, that right there. Yes. The body, yes. I mean, that's like you go to a massage, or you go to a yoga class, or you go to a retreat and they're doing breath work and you have this release. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Tell me about flowers.
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, right after college, I read that book, by Jack London, White Fang and Call of the Wild, which was totally like I don't know, post college. I'm living with my parents. I'm substitute teaching, and I'm going to the club and dancing a lot and reading books. And like that was literally what I was doing because I didn't want to get a real job, you know, and my parents were okay with me living at their house. So I read this book and then I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm allowed to talk to birds, you know. And then I'm reading books about St. Francis of Assisi, and he like freaking talked to the birds and communed with, you know, animals, and, you know, like is kind of known as like the bird whisperer. Is kind of how I like whenever I think of St. Francis of Assisi. So I got permission to like engage with the natural world in like in a different way, which is probably why most of the kids I substitute taught or the students I had in my classroom were sure that I was utilizing cannabis during those 7 years, like from 21 to 30, you know, like, I had so many students that were like, oh, we were sure that you were, you know, enjoying plant medicine. And I was like, no, I just like read Jack London's Call of the Wild, and I freaking started talking to birds, and birds are freaking amazing. And then when you start really paying attention, it like just slows me down, right? Then like when I mean, if you get on my TikTok, I'm finally starting to put my face on there a little bit more, but mostly it's literally flowers and music. Like I literally am like flowers and music, or ocean and music, or tree and music, because I just, again, that autopilot stuff, right? The autopilot, and I don't even have kids, and I have autopilot challenges. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I know.
throw in some kids, and then watch me like feel even more like the lists and the projects and the tasks and the kid there, and then take this kid there. It's like, so for me, like the nature piece is, oh, let's not forget how connected we are. Like it's like let's not forget how connected we are. Like no ocean, no oxygen. Like it's literally facts. Like no ocean, no oxygen. Whoa, like this is why, you know. So for me, I'm like, when I post stuff, or, you know, post the nature things, or reminding myself, part of it's just reminding myself. And let me just say that I think anytime we're sharing anything, coaching any, you know, like offering anything, everything I've said today, I'm coaching myself. I'm talking to myself, like I'm coaching myself. So when I'm out in nature and I'm getting videos, I'm like, Aaron, you're good. Yes, your mom will eventually die at some point, just like you will. And it's okay. Like you're a part of this magical, like planetary experience, you know, like soak this day in, you know. It's like a reminder to breathe. It's a reminder to slow down. It's a reminder to pay attention, right? Like this feels so good because we're both paying attention, right? So the same thing can happen when we pay attention to plants, and when we pay attention to nature around us. We can like reconnect to our breath, which, oh my goodness, how many times when I was teaching math back in the day, right? I love the communications world, but I probably was doing way more breathing in communications classes. But when I was teaching math, I was like not in my breath, you know. Like I remember like literally holding my breath while I'm like writing on the overhead, you know. So like when I think about my mom, right, and her lung, like having unhealthy cell tumors, a tumor on her lung, it's like, okay, allow breath to lead your day. What if but again, we've created a system that is not that, right? So, but how can we live within this system and allow breath to lead us through the day, right? How can we live in this world with all of these comings and goings, and get back into our breath, right? Get back into this beautiful, beautiful, magical body that we have, you know? So I think that's, for me, the fascination with nature is just like, I got permission granted back then. I will admit on this interview, at 35, Sarah and I went to Amsterdam for like a summer, for like a month, and I had never had cannabis until I was 35, but I chose to have some then. And it's been an incredibly helpful and healing plant for me
Yeah.
the last 5 years. I don't know how, how often, how much I will use it over the next 50, next 50 years. But it really allow some of my, family system stories and mental chaos. It really helps me like, oh, it's like one of those like, you're good, bro. You're actually good. You're actually good. You actually are fine. Like this does not need to be a panic. The sirens don't need to be going off right now, like sometimes. And I think that I was wired in such a way where I literally was on so much is how it felt growing up, and where it was like running from this thing to the next. This is like, you don't have to run, Aaron. You actually don't. You don't. You don't have to run. You can breathe and you can go slowly. So I will say that, and obviously like my Young Living oily world, that's all about, that's breath. Like I will do that for the next 50 years. I will teach people about oils, or I will lead oil meditations, because I think, I know I need that. And I was raised in a pretty freaking peaceful household. So I'm like, if I need that, like other people have to need this too. Like I think we all might need. So the plants, like breathing in the plants or taking photos of flowers is really like, maybe we just reconnect to breath, maybe we reconnect to our spirit, maybe we reconnect to like love and love awareness, which is really at the end of the day where life is.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right.
I don't know, the whole like being out in nature thing is super new to me. So, and again, I'm trying to figure out exactly how to say this, because obviously I really believe in therapy and healing and continuing to work on ourselves. And I know that can be at the end of the day, it is difficult. Like it's not for the faint of heart at all.
Sure.
I just also think it's really interesting that once I got to a place, again, I've been really working on myself the last 7 years. So 7 years. And then I went on this therapy retreat of working on truly like mind, body, soul work. And since I've been back, now I have to have nature. Like something was released that every morning I'm outside now. But it wasn't till then that I didn't care, honestly. Like I truly just didn't care. Like I was like, no, not for me. Unless I was at the ocean. Like that was the only place. Like if I could be at the ocean every day before, yes. But now it's like, I don't even care if it's 103 in Arizona. Like I have to be outside looking at the sky in the morning.
Wow.
And so something.
Wow. What
again,
do you think? What do you think? What happened at that retreat? Or
what do you think?
Was it just getting into the body, like into your?
It was like my judge was so heavy on me for so many years that it just was screaming at me. My judge it controlled my life of that I'm not enough. I couldn't see anything else other than I'm defective. Like that's what I looked at the world through. And then when I went to this retreat, it was finally released. And don't get me wrong, there's still other shit I'm working on.
Touche. Yes. Yeah.
And it's not fun looking at that stuff now. It was like one thing got lifted off my eyes like a color, and now there's another color, and I'm like, whoa, this world, I see it, but it ain't cool. Like also loving nature now though. So something did shift for me. Not sure what I really do think it was just that small piece when I really think about it, about that spiritual release that I did have. Because we were doing we had to go find something in nature, and we came back and we're doing basically a meditation around this item that we found in nature to connect to it. And that's when I couldn't do it. I broke down. I just started like bawling, and I was like, nope, like I'm not doing this. Like I'm not getting close to God. Like I'm not doing this whole universe, like F it. And that's when, my therapist, I was blessed that my actual therapist was at this retreat, but she asked me to go do a spiritual release. And so I went and did that. And yeah, I think that that's what it was. Now, like when I think back on it, it was some, you know, again, there's still a ton of work to be done there. I still have a lot of spiritual trauma to work through. Also, there is that piece of me now that appreciates this universe and wanting to not be it's interesting now being 5, you know, my yard is only 10 feet and having a house close next to me. Now I'm like, I want you 50 feet away from me. So that way I can look at the grass. I don't like that you're blocking my air and my sky.
Right. Totally.
And I didn't feel that way before. And now I'm,
well,
you know,
you said that breath work stuff, right? I mean, that also just, even just 20 minutes of breath work is like, I think it calls us out to the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's literally like every time you breathe, it's like the plants outside are like, the birds outside are like, hey, come on outside.
Yeah, my bodywork therapist, I'm not going to say it exactly like she does because I don't have all the terminology, but she was talking about how the neurons, like when the brain and body talk, your brain only sends 1 down, but your body sends up 10.
Shush.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if you just spend 5 minutes a day connecting with your body, how much your body is going to, you know, talk to your brain and how much more we're going to connect. It's wild. Like that's crazy to me.
Yes.
So you better believe I'm out with my kids now 5 minutes a day. I'm like, it's no wonder we don't trust ourselves. Like, I don't want to get on, I'm sure that's a whole nother topic, but you know what I mean? How we don't really trust ourselves as people. We're not connecting with ourselves.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, that's that's so exciting though. I mean, I think, so that nature piece, I appreciate you sharing that. I do think that, I mean, here's to the journey, right? I love and I love that you're saying that the different color, like, oh, here's a new lens, you know, the lens shift, right? And then comes new conversations with ourselves and new conversations with our friend, you know, our safe spaces, you know?
Yes. Yes. I didn't ask you yet, but I ask all my guests, what is one of the gifts of them? So we obviously have a ton of gifts. What is one that you would love to share with us?
You know, I think being raised in, well, by 2 counselors, but also by the, you know, like being passed between my mom and my mom's friend Jean. I think that gave me permission from very early on that it's actually really healthy and important to like deep dive into the heart and deep dive into the mind. And so I just love, like, I've just recently started like offering listening sessions. I love offering listening sessions, and I'm not a trained counselor therapist. I've thought about going to get a master's in counseling. I thought about going to get a PhD in psychology. I chose not to. But I love listening. I love just holding space. I don't even, you know, somebody asked me recently, hey, tell me about the listening sessions you offer. And I just said, I literally just, if you have specific goals, I will hold space for that. I just want to be a soundboard more than anything. Like, it's like, how can I be a soundboard? If the person yearns for feedback, yearns for, like, I can, like, you know, ask questions around whatever that person's processing, right? But at the end of the day, I want them to go where they want to go, you know, like that. So I just am like, I just want to listen and allow, and whatever healing the person yearns for, sweet. I just want, you know, may I hold space for that. May I be a part of, of just being that soundboard. You know, sometimes we just need someone to just show up and be there. We don't need any advice. You know, I think that that's my goal of the listening sessions, is just, so I would say one of my biggest gifts is listening and just being able to drop in. I really feel like there's nothing else that matters when I'm in that
certified
in that
space holder.
yeah, when I'm in that hour, like in that session, I'm like, this is it. This is it.
No,
Kind of
I
like when
love
I'm
that.
looking at a flower, I'm like, dang, this is it. So yeah, I feel like that's a gift of, yeah, just holding space, and listening.
No, I
And
love that. And you
yeah,
also said you're going to give that to
yeah,
one of my
I would
followers.
love to.
So I don't,
Yeah,
we'll
if that
have to,
intrigues somebody,
yeah,
like again, yeah, if you come in with specific goals or focuses that you want to, like body, mind, spirit, wellness goals, like I'm
right.
down to, like, I can bring prompts. I 100% can bring prompts, if that's something that you desire. But if you also just want to freestyle and like dive in with me, I would love to. Yeah, I would love to hold space and offer that to someone. And
Yeah.
while we're chatting here, I just have to say there is I just saw a woodpecker outside. I'm like, I don't, with a beautiful little red. I wish I could turn the computer around. A beautiful red little cap on its head. So that's kind of exciting. I have not seen a woodpecker out here in Carlsbad for a while. So
I saw a quail with a red like feather this morning. So I wonder what the
yes,
color red is meaning today with
right.
right?
My mom is supposed to wear red right now as a part of her healing. It's supposed to be a very like earthing, down in the sacral and root chakras. It's way more of that like earth energy, is what I've heard, like getting into your body. So the red, I mean, that's kind of how I've understood red. Red is like like you put on your red dress. Like mom bought like a red dress to try to get into her body more and just embrace like being in her body, I think, because we're in such a mentally stimulated world.
Right. As we're sitting
Sometimes
here mentally stimulating and having
I
this.
know, right? So then how to then come back into our bodies and be like, oh, hey, there's a shoulder. Yep. All right. What am I going to do with this body today?
Right.
Make it feel good,
Definitely going to take a couple deep breaths after this
Yeah,
conversation, right?
exactly.
Get back.
Exactly.
But seriously, Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you? I'm going to put it in the show notes too, but what are you up to?
Yeah. Find me on Instagram, Our Healing Voices, either Our Healing Voices or Aaron.Lahman. I do have a link tree if you are intrigued by a listening session, or obviously be in touch with Abigail if you'd like to be one of the person who gets the free session.
Yes.
What else? Like, I mean, that's the main zone is Instagram. YouTube, I guess. I do have a YouTube channel and the Our Healing Voices podcast. I've been doing that here for the last couple of years, and just I'm releasing episode, I think 37 today, this afternoon sometime. So that's been a miracle, and just like again, similar experience to you, Abigail. Like just a blessing. I love getting to dive in and have real conversations with people, and that's so this is a blast getting to hang out with you. I'm really grateful for having the opportunity to join you and be a part of this and be a part of your launching and your you have such a gift at just holding space. I remember you dropping in. You were a teenager who wanted to engage way more than most. I mean, I remember you and I having like deeper dive connections, like whether it was right before class or I do remember you having a different just comfortability when it came to vulnerability and being raw. And so
no, thank you.
So I'm so proud of all you are doing right now and the person you are. Like I love every time I see any of your posts, I'm like, yes, keep going. Like I'm so it's very encouraging, very exciting. And this is those little evolutionary growths, right? That are good, that's going to make it better for the next generation. So I'm just it's been fun to watch you say yes to all of this and all of this transforming and healing. Like heck yeah, I'm cheering you on.
Thank you. No, it's
Yeah.
interesting to hear about high school because honestly, I black it out. It's like,
Do you? Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't remember like that at all. Like I honestly, and that's what I mean when I say like you've always been this pocket, because it's interesting because I couldn't tell you conversations you and I had in high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
At all. Like
Yeah.
my memory won't allow me at the moment to remember things from.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting. But you as a person, like that energy has stayed with me. And when I decided to do the podcast, like I'm not kidding. I was like, Aaron has to be on. Like immediately, that was like
That's
my
awesome.
thought is I have to have Aaron come on. So
good.
this podcast means so much to me, more than you know. So I am so thankful that you came on, and you're blessing so many people just by your presence.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
So good. Judgment-free zone. What a gift to be on this podcast. So thanks for having me. And we need more spaces like this.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You'll definitely be back on.
Near and far.
Yes, you'll have to go check him out on Our Healing Voices. What a gift as well. And check out all of that, what's going on with him. And thank you again so much for coming on. And I'll see you guys all next week.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, friends, for listening in. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. If you'd like to be more involved in our community, hop over to Instagram and find me at Abigail Lavisi. Keep showing up. I will too. See you next time.